Welcome to the help video for volume ratios 2.09 SVW. By the end of this video, you will be able to explain how to derive the formula for volume of a sphere and a cone. We will practice problems involving volume of a sphere and a cone, and you will write about a real-world problem involving the volume of a sphere and a cone. In this video, we will review volume of a cone with practice problems. We will review volume of a sphere with practice problems. We will put volume of a sphere and a cone together in a composite figure. And we will review Geometry SVW 2.09. Volume of a cone review. The volume of a cone has a formula with radius r and height h. The formula is volume equals 1/3 times pi times radius squared times height. Here you see a right cone and an oblique cone. In these examples, we will be using a right cone. Notice you must use the altitude or height to solve for the volume. A cone-shaped paper cup has a diameter of 2.8 inches at the base and a height of 3.5 inches. We will use 3.14 for pi, and we'll round your answer to 2 decimal places. We're going to use the formula volume equals 1/3 times 3.14 times radius squared times the height. Since we have the diameter of 2.8, to find the radius, we do 2.8 divided by 2, which equals 1.4. We go ahead and plug in 1.4 as our radius. So now we have volume equals 1/3 times pi times 1.4 squared times the height. 1.4 squared is 1.96. Now we can go ahead and plug in our height. Our current formula with all of the information plugged in is volume equals 1/3 pi times 1.96 times 3.5. So we'll multiply 1.96 times 3.5 and we get 6.86. Now we can go ahead and plug in 3.14 for pi. Now we can multiply 1/3 times 3.14 times 6.86. 3.14 times 6.86 is 21.5404. When we divide that by 3 or multiply it times 1/3, we get the volume of our cone, which is 7.18 inches cubed, rounded to 2 decimal places. Let's review volume of a sphere. The volume of a sphere is the space inside the sphere. The formula for volume of a sphere uses 4/3 times pi, r for the radius, cubed. So that means we're going to take the radius and multiply it by itself 3 times. In this example, we're going to determine the volume of this sphere. We're going to give the approximate answer as 3.14 for pi. AB is a radius of the sphere and has a length of 6 foot. Therefore, the radius is 6. When we plug that into our volume formula, we see 4/3 times pi times radius cubed. We've plugged in 6 for our radius. 6 cubed, or 6 times 6 times 6, is 216. Now we're going to say 4/3 times 216. That's 288 pi. Now we can take this pi symbol and substitute it with 3.14. This is going to give us 904.32. This is the volume of our sphere. We would write this as 904.32 feet cubed. When we put all of this together, we can figure out what the volume of the sphere is. In this case, we have half of the sphere, so we call that a hemisphere, and the volume of a cone. Notice I just bought a statue that is a composite figure combining the cone and the hemisphere, half of a sphere. What is the volume of the cone part of the statue? So I'm going to use the volume formula 1/3 times pi times radius squared times height. When I plug in 1/3 times 3.14 for pi times 5 for my radius squared times 10, I find out that the volume of my cone is 261.7 inches cubed. Now, what is the volume of the hemisphere part of the statue? Notice that my volume formula is 2/3 times pi times radius cubed. So 2/3 times 3.14 for pi times 5 squared for the radius times half, since this is the hemisphere, I get 26.12 inches cubed. Now for the total volume of the statue, all I need to do is take the volume of my cone plus the volume of my hemisphere, add them together, and I get the volume of my statue, which is 287.82 inches cubed. That is very similar to your writing assignment. This is your writing assignment. Thomas has to make an art project using two 3D shapes. He decided to make an ice cream cone with 1 scoop of ice cream. He uses a hemisphere, half of a sphere, and a cone. The base of the cone and the hemisphere have the same circumference. Their diameter is 12 inches. The height of the cone is 17 inches. What is the total height of his project? What is the total volume of his project? You're going to round all of your answers to the whole number, and you're going to use these sentence starters. The volume of the hemisphere is blank. The volume of the cone is blank. The volume of the art project is, the height of the hemisphere is, the height of the cone is. The height of the art project in total is. Remember to text your teacher if you have any questions about this project.